Hello everybody. I thought we'd take a small walk through Android Studio before we get started in Monday. Um, if you're new to Mac, you can open Android Studio after you've installed JetBrains Toolbox, and you can open it from here. Or you can go to Launchpad and you can find it here, or you could search for it quicker. And if you can use their Spotlight by pressing Command and Space and then just search Android, and there it pops up. You can press Enter. The first thing I thought we should do is look at the plugins. Personally, I think the default theme that comes with Android Studio is not flattering to my eyes. You have the install section here to the right, and to the left the marketplace, and they have the featured plugins on top, the new and updated, and then you have top downloads, and you can see there are even themes here where if you press it you can see a preview, so if some have added the image. I like the Ride UI theme, which I explained in an earlier video, and I've already installed it, but you would press install here, and once it's installed, when you go here, should you choose to disable it sometime, you can just press here or on the cogwheel, and alternately you can uninstall the plugin like that. Once it's installed, you can go to customize here, and the default ones that come with Android Studio, they're listed up here, and all the ones that you download are listed below the divider. And for those who liked Visual Studio, there's even here one, the Visual Studio Dark, which is popular. I like Rider Melon Dark, so I'll go with that one. It's nicer to customize your settings from here the first time you're using Android Studio instead of from a project, but it goes both ways. There's a section here called Learn Android Studio when you're getting started. They have some helpful guides, tips. I'm not sure these are interactive. I know some of the other IDEs have interactive videos inside the toolbox that are helpful. Then I thought we'd go to Customize, and we'll press All Settings. One thing that's nice to do when you're getting started is go into Appearance Behavior section into System Settings. If you press like this, and setting the default project directory. This section it's when you try to open a project that you might not have opened in a long time, or you downloaded a sample app and you open it like that. This is the first folder that you open up in, and also when you're creating new projects. For example, if I would press here, I would start in the Android directory, which is a child of my Zane, and then a dev folder, and then Android. I think by default there's some other one custom that I personally don't prefer. So you can customize this because I put the dev on my quick access here, and I can then go to Android like I have for Apple here. And this is my default. Another thing that's nice to do in the beginning is font. I think by default the size is 13, so I set it to 16 to increase the size. And you can change the themes. The default one is JetBrains Mono, I think. Cascadia Code is a font that I like, that you can download online. It's from Microsoft. You can install it on Windows, Mac, Linux, and there's other ones here that you might like. And I'm not sure by default this is enabled. What it does is, if you look at all the symbols that we use in our code statements, they look generally like this. For example, we have a line and then this equal sign, greater sign, greater than equal, greater than sign, yeah. And when I enable it, it kind of draws them together. This is up to you if you like it or not. I'm used to it, I like it. Those I thought we'd go through. And another one is the key map. I've noticed a lot of people don't make use of shortcuts. This would help a lot. And if you're logged in, I think, to JetBrains Toolbox, this is synced by cloud. So if you would install a new version, or you uninstalled the program and reinstalled it, or you had to reinstall your whole computer, you'll get all this back. But what I would do is, I think, for example, now in Mac, you have this Mac OS by default. I would click it, and then I would duplicate, and you would get something like Mac OS copy, and I then rename it. So here it's called Zane Mac, and then I have like Zane Windows when I'm on the Windows computer. So because I have different key bindings depending on the OS, because the keyboards differ. And we will come back to here, and I will show some shortcuts that are nice and handy as an example. And then let's leave it like that. What do we have? We should go to the projects section. We have 3 options here. This is get from version control system, is a bit more for those experienced, but you can open like directly from GitHub. There's an open, as I mentioned earlier, like if you have an older project, or you're opening a sample app, and then you have the new project, which we'll be going into now. In the beginning, I think we'll be using these 2 no activity and basic activity templates. I'm just going to take basic activity for now. And let's look at first. We'll see some similarities to Xcode. We have like a package name. The save location, as you see, we have the default that I've added here. And then you have like your application name, but you can't have spaces, so they remove that. But there's one little thing that I've noticed. If, for example, we wanted to change this, say we're following our teacher through, and you wanted a folder for those projects. For example, here I would create one that's called me, and then I choose it. What happens now is that the entire project will be in this directory. It won't be in a subdirectory called my application. This is a thing that differs from Xcode. So you would have to do this manually if you ever change a directory like that. So I would do that thing, and it's all good. And then we have language. You can program in Java. I don't recommend it. Kotlin is the preferred language, like Swift is for Xcode instead of Objective-C. But you can. The minimum SDK is that the minimum OS you will be supporting on Android devices. As you see here, if I select one of the recent ones, 32, this will now, based on their statistics, run on less than 1% of devices. And they have a section here that helps. And I think this one is updated. Well, here we can see last updated August last year. So you generally pick between 24 and 26, I think. I will go with 26, so I can make use of the latest features. Because on the oldest ones, you might have to do some, which is a bit advanced now in the beginning, some advanced how it will work on the older ones. So 24, 26, that's up to you. Let's press finish. We go into the app. So in the first time it might be a bit slow because it had to build and then index your project. You will know that it's done when the syntax highlighting is complete. Right now it's partially. Let's see. Now, and this is generally only the first time when you create a project. It might take some time, but the next time you open it, it will become much faster. We're not going to do anything advanced here. This is just so we're getting started. One thing that's nice here is this tool here. If you press structure, you will see it will sort by variables and functions, and I think you can customize this a bit. So if you have a very long file, you can easily move to someone by pressing it. You get a nice color structure here. This is really nice to have. Let's see what term here. Before we start discussing Git, they have I think Xcode also has it, but this one is a little more convenient. They have a local history for each file. So I think there we have a section down here called local history. So we might have change something and then you want to revert, but you don't remember what you changed to, you can always press here and then see a side-to-side comparison between different versions, which will populate. We'll have more as we've done it, and we'll see by hours, which is also helpful. Filtering functions and that. See if we compare what's different in that here. So that's nice. Now let's talk about Git. In Xcode we have an integration for, as some of you might have seen, but it's quite clunky and sometimes it gets buggy. I've noticed when I add changes and commit, it doesn't commit deleted files. So I would have to do that manually sometimes from a terminal. And sometimes when I didn't have internet connection and it couldn't connect to GitHub, when I pushed, then it just got, I don't know, it bugged, and then I could no longer push, or I would always get error messages. Some people then who are experienced would use a terminal like a default for Mac or command line for Windows separately, or they might use a graphical version like Gitkraken or the one GitHub Desktop. You'd have to have many apps and it's get clunky. What's nice with the JetBrains IDEs is that you have one terminal here built in, and let's start now by just using the command terminal. There is also where you can start all this from the menu, kind of like in Xcode. I just do git init, and let's try. I'll add the entire project and commit and do an initial commit. So I can always do this here, and all of these are hotkeyed. You can open these by hotkeys. You can customize that. And now you'll see this new thing popped up here. Now we have a Git integration here where we can update, we can commit, and we can push later. And there's more advanced here. And we have here we have it, entire file menu for it. We can do many things, branch that. And there's also a section down here called Git, which makes it easy to change between branches and create new ones and get an oversight of your Git log history, all those possible things. This tool is very strong, very capable. So this is the nice thing with their IDs. You won't need to have use many different tools. You can just use one and you have it all here. The next thing I think we should look into is the refactoring. When we're changing something, I think a lot of us might have created a variable with a name and we wanted to change it. And in Xcode we have the rename. We could do that, but sometimes it will miss it, especially if you have a variable in different files. It could happen. It's on and off is sometimes. So what you would do here is you would right click on a variable, and you have this refactor section here, and then you can see how many different things you can do. You can extract out a bunch of code, a method and all that. You can change a function signature, and look here we have the rename. You press it, and it's kind of like Xcode where you can now change it. And for example, I would just do this, and you see it would change it everywhere, and enter. Now as you program a lot, it's good to think about being lazy, so you don't have to, you have to press a lot of clicks here. If I did this by mouse to navigate to the rename section, and you might have accustomed yourself to the default bindings, but you would feel that's unnatural for you. So I would go back to settings, and we have it, it's an Android Studio section, and then we go to settings. If you go to the key map, and now in my own bindings, which is how I want it, I would search for rename. And here I have it. Now I've already bound it till Command R. It's natural for me, R for rename. Let's take something else that we always do, commenting, having to write that manually. Comment. Now I use comment with line comment, and here I have bound it in two ways. I have used the Control C, also being natural there for me, you know, comment. And I've also added a mouse, because you can add both a keyboard and a mouse shortcut. So you don't have to have just one of them. And I use, when I'm in home, I use this button 5-click. This is one of the side buttons on my mouse. Sometimes I can just comment this by either Command C, and I can uncomment it again, or with my mouse now. There we go. So when you start to program in this tool and you start to see the repetitions that occurs, you know, things that you're doing often, which you think, maybe I can simplify this by binding it. Explore the key map. This will help you a lot. It becomes less monotonous, less repetitive. And the last section here, one of the greatest features about JetBrains lately is, I saw it last year when I was doing Python. It's called Code with Me. It's a plugin that was external, and then they integrated it in most of their IDEs. And it allows for collaboration, because I've helped some people in school, and then I've helped some people online, and some are not very accustomed to GitHub. So you would send me the entire project, and I'd help you fix it, and then I'd have to send it back, a new project basically. And also, it's not a very good teaching experience. I could explain afterwards, or I've added comments sometimes, but that's not it's not when we're sitting together and I'm showing the solution. So this Code with Me is you invite somebody to it, and they can just observe, or they can code with you, and you can be more than 2 people, which makes pair programming a lot more interesting and possible thanks to this. So that's one of the features I've been looking most forward to when I knew we were going to Android, because we don't have that in Xcode. So lessens the experience in iOS. Now sadly they haven't added it yet officially to Android Studio. They've added it to their other 8 major tools like the IntelliJ, PyCharm, and that. But the next version will have it. So this is, you know, you don't need to see this, but I'm just going to show you how it looks in the beta of the other one. And also, when you close this project now and then you open Android Studio again, it will reopen this project. This is by default unless you've changed the settings. But if you want to go back to that project section, we'll press File and then Close Project, and you would come back to this. Just a hint. Now here's the beta version. This should be released soon, because it's in the release candidate, which means it could come next week, it could come in a few weeks. This RC means that they're not introducing any more features, they're just fixing bugs now. So now I'm going to I guess I'll have to create a new project, and this one will have the same configuration. There we go. Just so you have an idea how it will look, because this will come soon. And there we have it. There's an icon here where you see like 2 people, and it's called Code with Me. And here you can invite people, or you can join others, so you can work together. You can help each other easier. Generally, just pair programming becomes more intuitive and interesting. So you both don't have to be and we're sitting together. We don't have to be in the same laptop and all that. So this is fun. And this will be released soon. And I think that's all. Just a little walkthrough. I hope it helps.